Hey guys, and welcome to Trekyards Reviews. I'm Captain Foley.
And I'm Connor Cockings, and today we are doing the Enterprise incident from the original series.
We are, and the reason we're doing this, guys, is this is actually a test run. We want to review every episode of Star Trek ever, because now that we're doing our Discovery reviews, we're having a lot of fun analyzing the episodes. We thought, why not go back and look at all the other shows and talk about each one, all the little flubs, the mistakes, the canon inconsistencies, the things that work, the things that don't work. We're going to go back and look through them all. Every series, TOS, TNG,
if you guys watch this.
Voyager, eventually, yes. Depending on the views that this gets. I think that's something fun that we would really like to do. And then it's out there for you guys. You can always have our opinion on whatever episode if you want to look it up.
And the fact is, we're approaching Discovery in a very certain way. It's just taking it almost basically scene by scene, calling out plot points, discussing, analysing little bits. And I have never seen a review of the original series episodes or any of the other episodes that in depth. Our episodes are longer than the episodes themselves because we are actually analysing everything we see. And so I've never had, I've watched these shows, TOS is the exception of, when I was young, but I've never gone back to watch them since I was a filmmaker. So I'm seeing, I sat down this morning and watched this episode, and I've never watched it knowing the set layout like we do, because we've walked those halls, knowing the characters. I've met all the actors for the most part, knowing the stories and looking at filmmaking wise and also the canon wise, and there's so much. I was analysing it like I was discovering, so it's going to get both barrels if it deserves it, and also praised if it deserves it. And so I'm intrigued to see how we do this. But let's go straight into it. So, the Enterprise Incident.
I just want to start off by saying the reason we picked Enterprise Incident is it's one of my favorite TOS episodes. It's got Romulans. They mentioned the Klingons. It's got some great aspects to it, and we just want to do this as a test run. Eventually, if this works, we'll do them all in order. But we just wanted to see how one of the more popular ones would fare as far as our analysis goes. So
I guess, as we normally do, what's our very brief overall review of the episode? Broad strokes.
Well, like I said, it's one of my favorite TOS episodes. It's just got everything that I like. It's got a lot of space action. Well, not really. I mean, you see a lot of exterior shots of the ships and new ships that we see. I know the remastered really hit this one out of the park as far as adding some cool stuff. So I really like it. The fact that there's some political intrigue, some what's going on, some subterfuge from the Federation and Starfleet, and the fact that they actually use the alien technology on their own ship to hide, which has a very submarine-esque World War II behind enemy lines kind of feel as far as overall story.
Yeah, I this is I knew was a really good one, but I hadn't, like I said, gone back and rewatched it this way. The script writing is excellent. I mean, the script is really, really top notch on this. Dialogue wise, there's some excellent bits. The pacing is really good. I mean, I was 15 minutes in, and a lot happened already. It is a very slow pace, and it drags close to near the second half. But so much happens, and it's constant stuff. It's constant reveal, constant intrigue, constant, oh my god, Kirk's, a baddie. Oh my god, Kirk's dead. Oh my god, no, he's not. Oh my god, Spock's, there's so much little bits of bits that really pulls you in. And it's a great character piece for Spock. I mean, the Romulan commander knocks it out of the park. She steals the show completely. Although I wish the secondary characters got more than just Scotty. But I mean, they all, there are some shows that get a bit more, some shows that get less. And this is quite a different episode to start with, because Kirk is out of his mind in a sense for the first 20 minutes, and Spock is not being Spock for 20 minutes, so it's kind of an old one, but there's so much Trek canon in this. They go into a lot of cool stuff. So let's go straight in, Stuart. So scene 1, we've got Kirk being a bit of a bleep. Insert your own word there.
I just wrote down Kirk is acting a bit like me when I'm grumpy.
It's not good enough. I could do better.
Kirk the jerk, as I'd call him in this one. He's kind of snippy with his whole crew, and it must be tough being a captain and getting orders from Starfleet that you have to do this, and you can't tell your crew. So your crew is kind of like, so you kind of you want to make yourself more dislikable, I guess, by being an asshole. I don't know. I think it would be a tough position to be put in as a captain.
And just one quick disclaimer before we go on. I'm going to review this not like it was made in the 60s, like it's just an episode of Star Trek. We all know the budget wasn't very much, but I'm still going to review it as what I see, It deserves to be treated as fairly as it can be. So just say that out at the start. But I appreciate how different his character is in this, and they do say he's been different for several weeks. So weeks of setting up this. I mean, poor Kirk, because he plays it so well. He plays. I'll let you know when your work is satisfactory. When it's satisfactory. And then a great line from Spock when he does get him. Compliance presents no problem. Just really nice little character lines. They understood how to write these people by season 3.
But that scene made me wonder how long has Spock been in on this. I think Kirk lets him in at the last minute kind of thing. So I think Spock's even in the dark right at that point. Because it's like, okay, I'll do my job. Compliance, no problem.
And I forgot. I didn't know if he was in it or not until they revealed it. So I was thinking the whole time, damn, he is really in on it. Like he's really concerned. And did you know he says, change course, execute. They're even subtly doing those lines just imply a bit of extra something. And it started with the doctor's log, which I don't know if is uniquely the only time he gets a doctor's log, but I was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Bones gets to start off.
That was an interesting addition to this episode, yeah. And I don't think that it's done again. Voiceovers by McCoy. And then, of course, we get the reveal. They cross the Romulan neutral zone, and everybody's freaking out about that. And then all of a sudden, there's a ship decloaking. But what kind of ship is it?
Well, to be fair, they never say decloaking, and they're very surprised it comes out of nowhere. So I guess they missed the whole decloaking part. But we'll get into that in a minute. Stuart, it's a Klingon ship.
What? There are no Klingons in this area.
But intelligence reports Romans now using Klingon designs.
What?
Just like that.
I guess they didn't watch our briefing on the Klingon Romulan Alliance of 2267. They'd know that. We've covered this.
It's interesting because you got to wonder. Everyone's really surprised, and chief engineering officer doesn't know. Now, is Spock actually looking at his console and information? Like, is he typing in is he googling Romulan Klingon hybrid? And it says, oh, okay, that's was there not a memo put out saying Romulans now using Klingon ships, or is it in the computer? It's obviously in the computer, or does Spock only know? And surely, if their plan is to go get a cloaking device, they would probably know it already. Again, a lot of it is faking it, but for them all to be so... I know obviously it's for the audience. Oh my god. But you would think it'd be a memo, because that's quite a heavy alliance.
I think it's one of those things. It's definitely in the computer, and, for high-level ranking only. But I think, the captain, the commanders might have got, wind of this...
Well, especially if it's their mission to go to the Romulan...
I don't think Spock knows at this point. I think Kirk's been sent across the border to make sure they have cloaking devices, and they do, so now he can let Spock in on it. That's what I think happens.
To sell it. Because, you don't want Spock to not... Because Spock can't lie, but he can mislead. Yeah. You don't want him to not mislead for 3 weeks. Like, at some point, he might crack or give it away, so...
I don't think the Federation knew for certain that they did get cloaking devices.
No, just Klingon ships, just at all. They're surprised, I'd say.
Yeah, but I don't think they knew for sure exactly what was going on with the treaty. So, it's interesting that they have Klingon ships now, which is a shock. So,
and obviously in the remastered, we get to see the original series Romulan ship appear, which is great. Although it then, I think that probably doubles back to the idea this is warp capable, given that it can, it's part of a pack of 3.
Yeah.
And all warp capable. Now she a lot of the time. No, ignore that bit. But what did you think seeing the new version and seeing the old ship, the actual Romulan ship?
I loved it. I thought that was a great addition. Because the first one they had like three Klingon ships surrounding them. Because we all know that the original Bird of Prey, the TOS one from season 1, was actually destroyed due to water damage. So the model was actually not usable, so they had to come up with an alien ship. So that developed this Klingon design, the whole plot point of the Klingon Romulan Alliance, all because of some water damage to one of the models. It'd be interesting to see how it plays out in an alternate reality where the model was never damaged, so all we got was a Romulan ship there instead of Klingon ships. It would change the Star Trek Trekkie fandom over in that dimension.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So... yeah.
But obviously, in this remastered version, we cut post titles. We do see it's now got the bird at the bottom. So I guess they didn't. And they say in a few seconds almost. They don't change the design at all, except they do some painting, which I'm fine with. Although I wish they'd. I'm assuming these were the first of the few that got
Yes.
given sort of thing, and to leave their mark they painted Big Bird, but actually kind of suits these.
Yeah,
The
it
simple
does.
greyness on the bottom. That was a nice touch
Yeah.
on the remastered to make sure they included that.
Because we know later they become Stormhawks. They change into cells and whatnot,
Yeah.
if you believe
Yeah.
FASA and Starfleet battles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these would be the early ones because the treaty just happened,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So cool. Now I got to admit, when they're talking to the Romulan on the viewer, I hate the viewer close-ups in TOS because the one corner in the upper left, if you look, it's not set up properly. It's askew. They didn't fix it in the remastered. And if you watch the border of the screen, the whole view screen shifts a little bit. You don't notice it if you're watching the main views, the picture on the view screen. But if you actually pay attention to other things, little subtle things, the back plate is like shifting slightly.
Weird.
Yeah, and it really annoys me. And they didn't fix it for remastered. It's always annoyed me, and I always notice it.
Bizarre.
Yes.
Yeah, but I quite like this commander. He's very cordial and polite and respectful. Not how you'd necessarily expect them to play that. This is a very calm, civilized set of Romulans.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting, and again, I'm going to call out things that are dumb, because many things are dumb. You've been identified as US Enterprise. So did you scan them or look at the hull? I mean, come on, you can't be... What a poor thing. It's like, yes, your registry says that. We looked out of a window. Bull.
Yeah.
I think
it's probably
bad writing.
it's probably a censored thing. I don't know. Transponders in space.
Yeah, that's why you got on the hull to identify. Then you got this great close-up of Kirk and Spock using the whole height thing, and you've got the colours at the back. I mean, there's some really great frame shots in this episode, and the 4:3 even works really well. I mean, they know what they're doing. The director of photography really know what they're doing in this, and that was a great long shot. And I will just call out when the captain calls the commander of the Romulan ship, and he uses a little headset, because they have to use little headsets. They cut to the classic shot of Chekhov looking back, and Sulu's not there.
Yeah.
And it's like, please, guys, continuity error. Just refilm it with... Okay, don't refilm it now, but crop him out if you're going to. Crop out his head, because, come on, that's a stupid continuity error you don't have.
And speaking of errors, there's something that always bugs me in every iteration of Star Trek ever. Whenever they're talking to someone on the view screen, who's picking the camera angles? Because sometimes it's a wide shot, sometimes it's zoomed in on the face. You're telling me that the computer automatically just goes, oh, I'm going to make this very interesting and cinematic. Let's zoom in, and that bothers me. If it's a standard view screen, you're going to have a standard look through the whole conversation. They zoom in on his face at one point. It's like, please stop that. I understand you're using different cameras and different techniques, but if it's going to be represented on a view screen, make it uniform.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Now, it is worth saying, though, that now we have this broader canon. Are you surprised they're not using holographic man standing in front of the view screen? Because then you wouldn't need to change focal length. You could just be there. Are you surprised they didn't do that? Because they have the technology.
I am surprised. I'm very surprised that they downgraded for the newest Constitution class ships in the fleet.
I'm also doubly surprised, Stuart, that a subspace message will take 3 weeks to reach Starfleet.
I have that myself marked down. Yes.
From just inside Romulan space, because they got done straight away. So they're like seconds in Romulan space.
And that's one thing I do like about TOS is the fact that it's showing distance and how vast space is, that it takes that long for a communication to get back to HQ. That's one thing that's missing out of almost every other Star Trek series, well, except for Voyager
and Enterprise, obviously, because they have buoys.
They have to drop the buoys, exactly. Yeah. That I like. It really shows a sense of scale and just being a wild frontier of just nothingness. So
and again, this sets distinct canonical. Things take time to get places. You can't have real-time holographic communication with Vulcan from the other side of the galaxy, or the other side of the quadrant. Yeah. You can't do that. Straight away, first TOS episode we picked, give a distinct time-to-technology ratio. So what the hell is going on with the Shinjo and Discovery and all that stuff? What is going on with that? That's silly.
And then they start speaking about cloaking, like... when they're in the briefing room, like cloaking devices, like it's a surprise, like we didn't run into this in season 1 with Balance of Terror. I know we destroyed the ship, but they still understood the technology and would have been able to make more.
It's because there's no continuity. There's meant to be no, like, they didn't build it with continuity, so it's just a case of we have to re-explain to the audience. But if also their mission is to go get the cloaking device, I know they're saying it to the people in the room, but it's like, how do they appear? They must have a cloaking device. It's like, yes, because everyone knows and we have a mission about it, but we can't tell it. Everyone knows about cloaking devices. Yes. Lazy scene that could just be like, so the captain, I believe they've now refined their cloaking device. Oh yes, we saw them 2 years ago. We did, Captain. It's even better. End of
Yeah, it's the new version of the cloaking device. It's way better. We talk about that in our cloaking episode, which hasn't been released yet. There's different versions of the Romulan cloak, and we cover them all. But one thing I did like was on the briefing room table, the display. I do love the graphic they had on there with the Constitution class and the Klingon D7. I have it up here occasionally, and it's one of my favorite wallpapers, actually.
Yep.
So that was expertly done. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, and it shows you scale. It shows exact design. Although it still has a Klingon name on the hull, so I guess they didn't remove the Klingon markings on the top and added then Romulan on the bottom. But hey, that's fine.
That's nitpicky, even for me.
Two things I noticed in this scene specifically. One, so the whole scene plays out. They've got the big officers that I guess they need. They've skipped the secondary bridge officers, but they've got Spock, Kirk, Engineer Scott, and McCoy, and also 2 random African American crew members for a briefing about cloaking devices. Why is there randomly 2 men in the scene that have no part? Briefings are always just the people that need to be, and they specifically shows people. Are they extras they wanted because they promised them a part? I mean, you never have briefings with random people necessarily, and I was like, who are they? Why are they here? You'd think it's the most secure meeting about the cloaking device and all these things. And
one of them is the department head for the sensor technology department, where he needs to learn how.
They should say something then.
Well, no, that's it. Just they're important for some reason. Maybe one's working in the sensor.
It just really stood out to me as like just two people. And I also noticed, how bland this room is. Like, I'm going to call it out. There's no detail on any of the walls. It's ridiculously bland. They needed to seriously put some stuff just somewhere. It's really plain and dull.
So I thought this was odd too. The transporter pads they stand on, I'm like, why the hell did they pick those 2? And then I realized, because if they picked the other ones, they'd be blocking the shot for when the Romulans come in. So, whatever, it works fine, but the Romulans have their guns out, and Scotty's just like, what are you going to do? He's probably deactivated them, I guess.
I was going to say, a hostage swap is fine, but swap the two most important people on your ship for 2 grunts is not a fair hostage exchange. Especially since Romulans don't
in their situation, it is, because really they violated Romulan space. Need to go
these
over and
Romulans
talk
being
about
so peaceful about this. I mean, especially since they mentioned very early on, they said the fact that we're still here means they want something. Yes, it's normal procedure to destroy you. So I guess anyone that goes to the Romulan neutral zone, they just get blown up. Standard procedures to be destroyed. And just to note, it's a bit, and this is one of the, again, lazy things. These 2 guards are the 2 guards. The next scene, they're the same 2 people behind Kirk and Spock. And in every other scene, basically, the guy with the larger face is also on the bridge the entire time. So I guess it's a clone ship, or they're both twins.
All Romulans look alike. I said it. Oh my god.
It's really lazy again. I mean, I know there was, standard def, black and white, really small screen. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But
nobody's gonna rewatch this and analyze it years later.
It's the same damn people in every scene. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
I barely did. It's just great. Yeah. So they be on board, and what's the first thing you notice on this Romulan ship?
Well, first of all, it's the same sets, but one thing is that what you're getting at?
Well,
I
guess the same manufacturers made Klingon D7s that do Connies because it's the same damn sound effect. A little bit lazy on their part.
Anyway, well, the first thing that I really noticed, a female captain. What are they doing to Star Trek?
I noticed the doors. You noticed the female captain. Okay.
What are they doing to Star Trek? Putting a female in a lead role as a captain. They're ruining Star Trek, just like Discovery. All these arguments about ruining Star Trek because they're putting... it's been going on for a long time, guys. Get over it. That's what I'm saying.
We've been fine with it forever, so don't make a thing out of it. It's the fact they didn't mention it makes it powerful.
Yeah.
As soon as you mention something, you know, if Kirk had been and said, "Oh, Spock, it's a woman," boom, 60 sexism. But nope, he just smiles like an imbecile, looking for his bit of alien whatever. Which is sort of, I mean, he's being the douchebag for the episodes. That's absolutely fine. You know, you can push that character one step further. But yeah, they didn't mention it whatsoever. And she's really excellent in this role. I think this bit's probably her best when she's in full commander mode. Because she's eloquent, she's respectful, she gives him every chance. Like, she's a really good commander. Like, you want her negotiating with you if you do another peace treaty, because she's great.
She really reminds me of the female Vorta in the one episode of Deep Space Nine, with the crashed ship. She's got that same kind of demeanor and the same friendliness, but still, yeah. So very, very well done on that. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I like that she gives Kirk a fair shot. Let him explain himself. Awesome, and he gives a nonsense reason, but hey, whatever.
And then, of course, Spock says the unspoken truth, and then Kirk flies off the handle and becomes insane before the commercial break. Dun, dun, dun. Sorry.
Yes. And just before we get to that bit, again, lots of little lines. She says, "We were not aware of Vulcans aboard the Enterprise." Yes, you were. Come on. Second in command of the flagship. Yeah, you specifically said one of Starfleet's finest vessels, so you know it's the finest vessel. You know who the captain was because you already knew that. And again, 1 second later, we can appreciate the Vulcans, our distant brothers. I'm wondering if she was the reason that Spock tried to do unification, because one of the first possibly the first Romulan he ever met, respected Vulcans enough to fancy him to bits, but she cared. So she, a high up commander, which has a little squadron of ships, and 2 of the new ones. She's pretty high up in the ranks. She must be, although she only has 3 guards on her ship, both ships. If she wants unification, or at least that relationship, I can imagine this was his, pretty good first impression when she respects Vulcans that much. Whereas most other Romulans are quite like, Vulcans, So I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of, But again, she's so moderate and so pleasant,
Yeah.
What do you think of her room and the art design of this Romulan made-up Klingon ship?
It was interesting the fact she had like curtains dividing the room, and it seemed a little different from the Enterprise as far as that went, and also the different shaped grating and stuff as used as projection. It worked as far as I was concerned. I always hated that all the ships in TOS looked the same, or all the bases or underground bases or asteroids or whatever. They all look the same. That always bothered me. So I wish there would have been more changes. But overall, I think they did a fairly good job.
Yeah, they certainly put some effort in terms of redressing. That's fair to say. But there's no Romulan aesthetic here. They didn't. Like they would in TNG, they didn't go from the ground up to right. What is a Romulan aesthetic? They just threw purples. I mean, the costumes are, I guess, the aesthetic, but they threw purples places. They threw different shapes, but there's no
greens. There's lots of greens in the hallway.
A lot of greens everywhere. There's no aesthetic that really represents Romulans. Doesn't link to Enterprise. Obviously doesn't link to Enterprise, but there's no continuity of reference. Now, the fact that it's a converted Klingon ship could mean they haven't yet decorated fully. They ripped everything out, put in basic stuff, whatever. Yeah. Although they're just more minimalist. But it was kind of strange. You didn't get any... I mean, this could be any planet, any race, anything. And did you think it was weird that she was never on the bridge? Ever?
Yeah. A little bit, yeah.
And we do know that bridge set is actually the bridge set because he specifically calls out weapons and helm. So that little room, which is rubbish, absolutely rubbish in terms of a bridge. We know
the one from Balance of Terrors was better. It had the console in the middle. It was more of...
Yeah.
It was small, but it was more centralized and it could be a bridge.
But this next bit, they throw Kirk in the jail. I do like the fact they have a piece that on the wall actually goes up and everything moves, which was a nice touch. Feels kind of practical.
And the bottom part comes up like knee height as well, which is neat.
Yeah, it's a good little thing. So we mentioned this already. You do see a lot of corridors, a lot of the same corridor. I think 2 corridor sets. Is this actually the TOS sets? Because we've got those top pieces, and obviously we know the exact sets because we've been on them in real life, in the replicas, so we know the layout. I was trying to picture where things are, and like, because would they really remove a door panel? Is that worth the time to remove a door panel, or just put up new wooden walls? So, is this actually the TOS repainted, or is it new builds, or... I mean, what do you think?
Ooh, that's a good question. And I thought the same thing watching it, especially the overhead beams. They're a lot lower.
Yeah.
They're like just above the heads, and there's more of them. So it's almost like this was a set built within a set. I think these were hallways that were built within the regular hallways, so a little bit smaller, and they'd have to make them shorter. That's the feeling I get, because like you said, is it worth redressing everything, removing a door, repainting stuff? Not so much, I don't think, for the main set. Could also be just a set they built temporarily off to the side using spare components from the regular corridors and stuff. Because it's very different as far as, the yellow striping instead of the silver. That would take a lot of work to change all that. So,
yeah, I mean, it's very different in terms of paint and things, but very the same in terms of look. I mean, it's ridiculous actually how similar this is, and you would not assume the Romulans would rip out the corridors of a Klingon D7. That's a bit far even for them. So this is presumably what a D7 looks like. Boy, everyone has the same interior designers. And then we see this Klingon, or this new Romulan symbol. And we know that's not the Star Empire logo. That's radically different. Do you think this is maybe a picture of the Romulan Klingon Alliance logo? Like a combination of the two. This is our joint endeavour. Because it's only on this ship. It's the only time we ever see that logo, I think.
It could be. I think this is the only time we do see it. But yeah, that's supposedly the TOS Romulan emblem symbol. That's always what it's been. So it could be a part of the Klingon Alliance. You see the Klingon influence in there, sort of, with that design.
Yep.
But I personally don't think so. I just think it's the original Romulan logo.
It's just pretty radically different from every other logo they've ever had, which is a bird.
True.
And so Kirk's gone crazy, but not really. And it's interesting that she trusts Spock so much with her influence that she lets herself go into a force field room with 3 officers. And it's like, they could easily kill you. I mean, what trust? And beaming the doctor aboard and not their own doctor.
Yeah, I thought that was odd as well. Kind of a lapse in security there, judgment-wise. But they might not know human physiology as well as they hope to, and his symptoms they scanned him, and his symptoms were all like non-specific. So they're like, just call in their doctor. He might have more sensitive equipment. Meanwhile, Kirk's just, I feel fine.
But I think she's really smitten. I think at this point on the plot onwards, her judgment is now impaired because of Spock. Like, she's so into him and so into what his potential is that everything else is overshadowing, that she wants to seem like, I guess, a good girl to him, to prove her trustworthiness, her loyalty, her respect, because he obviously responds well to all of that stuff.
Anyway, and then all of a sudden, the Vulcan death grip. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Doesn't actually exist.
Well, I appreciate how straight they played it. Like, it was completely...
Yeah.
Like, at the time, you would have believed it for a little bit, I think.
And the thing is, too, Spock is so mysterious, nobody knows that he has a sister or a brother. So, I mean, there's so many secrets that McCoy's probably like... Or I think McCoy was probably in on it at that point that was going to happen.
Yes.
I hope. But anyway, it would be surprising to some people, but other people would be like, well, we don't know much about him, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, but since a Vulcan and a Romulan are so indistinct, and they say at the end the life signs are almost indistinct, and if you're not looking for it, you wouldn't see it. Their spies would be the easiest to transcend. You would think we had lots of Romulan spies on Vulcan because Vulcan is close to the Federation. Not the other way around, because it wouldn't benefit Vulcans, but they should know everything about Vulcan culture-ish. And then reveal he's not dead, and a nice little chapel scene.
And they did it awfully.
Oh, well.
Watch the scene again. I hate this scene so much because you see his eyes open, and then they rewind the camera and use reverse footage to close his eyes, and it's so apparently obvious. I've noticed it for years, and it bugs me. They obviously, the second unit or whatever that was filming the close-ups didn't film him closing his eyes, just opening his eyes. I've seen this before in other productions, other shows, where they just reverse footage. It's even in Star Wars with the Tusken Raider, where he's like, and they just rewind it back like 3 or 4 times. It's the same. Like, stop it. Just don't do that. Sorry. Pet peeve of mine, in case you can't tell.
Well, I didn't notice that. I just thought it was weird. Why is he opening his eyes and closing them in a locked room when no one's around? I mean, he should be getting up straight away, not caring.
It's his ship, yeah.
Yeah, and then suddenly the heartbeat stuff starts up, and she comes in. They have a conversation, and then he goes all Romulan-y, and I do like the shot where Scott comes in and sees him. The way it's framed is really good, and the way the acting's really good. But to say, well, you look like the devil himself. Come on, you were born 70 years after Vulcans are every day on Earth. I mean, stop being racist, please. No one cares about the devil. We're hundreds of years after religion's important, please.
Written in the 60s. That's all I'm going to say.
But you wouldn't say that. You'd say, "Wow, Captain, the ears suit you."
For the culture at the time with the writing, that's why. That's unfortunately why. He does look good as a Vulcan or Romulan. I got to say.
Yeah, he suits that really well.
Yeah.
Another little weird line. They say, "I need a uniform," and he says, "It'll be a pleasure to strip the officer." Why is it your pleasure, Scotty, to strip a Romulan officer? Tell him strip. Probably got it. That's such a weird line.
It's his pleasure to knock him out
and strip him.
I don't know if he's gonna knock him out. I don't know. That's odd. Yeah, that is kind of odd now that you mention it that way.
His acting's so good because he's like big grin. It's wonderful, but everything he says is so wrong.
I never really considered that, so thank you for ruining that awesome Scotty moment for me.
You're welcome. Bastard. I'm trying to find things.
All right, so we move along and beaming it right into the middle of a corridor. I mean, he didn't have the coordinates, so that was luck. Nobody around, except somebody comes around the corner instantly.
Well, he hears it, but doesn't think anything of it. Although he does say, I've been beamed back. But it's weird that you wouldn't... I mean, he calls him... what does he call him? What rank was he?
Centurion, wasn't it?
Centurion, yeah. So that's a higher up. That's a higher rank. I think the sash is meant to represent that.
Yeah.
Why would you not know every Centurion on your ship?
Exactly.
It's fine he wouldn't know what Kirk looked like. Why would he? But... I mean, aren't you lucky he wasn't the guard that, dragged your corpse to the transporter room? Imagine if it was. It's like, you're alive. What?
It probably was. There's only 2 people on the ship apparently.
It's actually there's 3 if you watch one scene. There's 3 guys at the same time. But yeah, but it's again lazy writing. You didn't need to see anybody. It didn't add anything at all.
And the one thing that really confused me during this whole thing, even later when they beam it off, why the hell does nobody have shields up? You've got an enemy vessel right in front of you, whether you got the advantage or not. Why would you not at least have your yellow alert with minimal shields on? And the Enterprise, for Christ's sakes, should have its shields on. And then all of a sudden, so the Romulans sitting there, yeah, their shields are on. Oh, they dropped their shields. Oh, okay. Oh, they put their shields back up. Oh, okay. It's just odd. It's just very odd.
Again, even more lazy, because this episode, if this was a standalone piece, it says that anybody can beam to and from any ship without any concern. Like, you can't just beam aboard, steal it, and then leave. Otherwise, why isn't the other guy beaming them back a second later? Wasn't boarding party beaming straight on? There's no, again, really lazy and dumb, and they use it too much because they beam Spock off as well instantly without worrying, and it's like. I know there's a lot of respect here, but given Scotty's approach earlier on, I think he has shields up. Probably full shields too. Jeez. So then we get this whole romance scene with Spock and him, and I'm torn. I like it because it's played quite nicely, and I really appreciate Len Nimoy's acting. How do you tell a man that he's not allowed to show emotion to flirt? And he is flirting, he is reacting, he is responding, he is doing this. And yet there is that really nice subtlety of it. You genuinely feel it, and we know later on he is genuinely kind of getting into her a bit, for what emotions he has. But it's such a heavy-handed set of scenes.
Yeah.
And I'll let you jump in there.
I was just going to say that the cantaloupe and the tang that they serve look delicious, because I mean the way he was just I know it's supposed to be
Yeah,
something
the
else,
eye. Yeah,
obviously.
the eyebrow.
But still, I love little square glasses too. Those always intrigued me as a kid. I'm like, did they make those, or are they just plexiglass they glued together, or are those something you can buy? Anyway. Yeah, it was a well played scene, very 1960s suave, debonair, kind of cool as a cucumber. And
But okay, now we're in the heart of that. What do you think about this whole romance subplot? I mean, she is coming on to him so strongly.
It doesn't bother me. I mean, she's just got the hots for him, and I think she wants to be the person that brings the Enterprise back, brings Spock over to their side. I think that would really help her up as far as in the ranks of the Romulan political system. The fact that she not only captured one of the flagships, or wasn't the flagship at that point,
One of the last colonies, season 3, not many left.
Yeah, and converted one of their top officers over as an intelligence officer or whatever to their side. So I don't know. I think she really likes him, really fancies him, but at the same time is like, this could serve a dual purpose. So she sort of gets into it a little more.
But it just seems strange. She didn't know he was on the Enterprise. She didn't know his name, so he has no reputation with her. She's just a random. I mean, she's got a crew full of Romulans who are more. I get maybe she either seems very desperate. Like it's like if you're out at a bar and a woman came up to you. And, I mean, I guess guys would be fine with it, but it's real desperation and real full on. I mean, he's reacting his stoicness. And he is actually giving the signs. Yes, please continue. But she's not even using womanly wiles. She's being full on. It's just, and I will say, obviously it's the 60s. You can't let women be strong without being womanly. But to have so much girl music, she's the female love bit. Like, it does suddenly pulls her character right back down into just she's the lady for the man. Which is why her first scene's the best by far. But I mean, her acting and her dialogue is still great. But they shouldn't have been as forced. Like, if he had a reputation, or just that, Spock, I've loved your mission. I've loved your missions. I've had had a crush on you for years. I mean, you could play that so much better. I guess she just thinks he's really, really hot. Just chemistry.
As you do, right? I don't know.
Well,
a lot of women like the Spock. I don't understand.
And last thing on that scene, I did find, and this is what I know TOS does, the selective lighting all the time, but I like it for its time, but it's obnoxious, and I hate the discontinuity, because every time you see only her face is lit, it's like, no, 1 second before everything else was lit. And Kirk on the bridge, why is one half his face not lit? No reason. It's like, nope, it's obnoxious and it's stupid and it pisses me off a little bit, because it doesn't work for continuity. But it's stylistic. But that doesn't. It pulls me out of the scene every single time they do it, because it's just, this is not in reality. This is not what's happening. You're throwing stuff at me. It doesn't make any sense.
What really bothers me is when they just focus on the eyes, just the eyes are lit, or if there's like the Vaseline filter for the women. That annoys me very much. Yeah. But the lighting I've just grown up with, I'm used to it, so it doesn't really bother me. Sometimes I look at a scene and go, he's got like 7 different shadows. Like, I'm just picturing where all the lights are, and then I'm like, how do they film these days and make it look so good? So, anyway.
Just as a filmmaker, I see it as bad filmmaking, because it doesn't make any sense. Just poor continuity. Especially when you have all the different close-ups, all the different mid-shots, and so, because they do a lot of cuts. I mean, the filmmaking is really good in this episode, the shots and the composition, and yet suddenly, boom, the light doesn't make any sense. It's just very strange. Now, what do you think they let Spock keep his communicator? He calls home straight away.
Again, I assume that was out of respect, because she had a thing for him, and they would be able to detect any
and they did,
signals, so they were, just leaving it to test him, I guess. And then, hey, dude, there's a spy on board. Look over there. Chunk. All right, then. You think somebody guarding the most important part of the ship would know all the officers and recognize everybody on the ship? It's not a huge ship.
And even if it was, not many Centurions.
Yeah.
But it's interesting about their culture that, the guard's first reaction is pull out a gun and point. His first reaction to anybody he doesn't recognise, which is actually kind of good. But don't walk up to the man. Stay at the door, so you hold their ID part again. It's classic has to happen for the plot. But it just shows you how
I think too. It's the 60s. They're used to making westerns. Westerns were the big thing back then. So it's always pull a gun and have it get knocked out of your hand. They
They even hold it like a revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but obviously, we're trying to look at this like a modern drama, and obviously, helmet's very clever. So you'd have to have makeup, eyebrows and thing, but which is great. Actually, can I add something?
Yeah, I like the Romulan helmets. Yeah.
So you get the reveal of the distress signal or the communication. He comes in and shows to the communicator, showing his respect for her and such. And I kind of like how they played that.
He's like, you let me have this.
It's your fault.
What do you expect?
Yeah. So then you get the cloaking room. What do you think about the heart of this ship, the most advanced piece of technology on the entire vessel?
I like the room, personally. It's a nice small room dedicated to cloaking. That's cool. The fact that it's a plug-and-play module, also interesting because why not? It's neat. But it's Nomad's head. And trust us, when we go do these reviews, we're going to point out every reused prop because in the 60s, they didn't have a big budget. They reused a lot of stuff. It's worth pointing it out when we notice it because they didn't expect us to be watching it in syndication for years and years and years and years and years and analyzing the heck out of it.
Yeah, and I definitely want the known TOS guy to point it out. Point it out. I'm interested to learn more because I'm never analysed them like this before, which I like. Yeah, my only thoughts about this room. It's nice that she built a room, and it's not. It might be auxiliary control redressed, and while obviously all the individual pieces are just TOS pieces they're lying around / the same like it did feel different. My biggest complaint is that first of all, there's only three controls on the cloaking device. The cloaking device has no controls to operate it, which is out of all the parts of the room you put controls on, that would be it. And when he removes it, he acts for 1 second as weight, and then lifts it with no weight, holds it via the weak bit. And it's like it has no weight to it at all. It's really bizarre. I mean, there's technology of whatever, we have no idea what makes it tick, but it's just it defies. It makes it look stupid when he can just like, look, I've got the cloaking device and I'm not straining at all. No, he should be like even in Pegasus, when they have the transphasic, it's on the floor. They can't lift it. They have to sort of like both get it out and then it's like, come on, guys.
And then they discover that the cloaking device is missing, and we shouldn't have made it so easy to unplug, I guess.
Yeah, and again, the captain walks in, looks at it, looks around. The other commander goes around and says, "Oh my god, the cloaking device is gone." And she turns around like, "What?" It's like, you just looked straight at it. There's nothing there. And everyone can see it's gone. Why are you surprised? Why are you even questioning this? Why are you being surprised? It's like, you saw it's not there. Why is anybody saying it as if it's a surprise? You can see there's nothing there. Oh. She's like, oh my god. Yeah. What was that?
Anyway, then we see Scotty on board the Enterprise. No problem getting it hooked up. We can just tie it into our deflector grid, which is how it works. Like I said, we've done an episode on cloaking devices. That's how they work. But to be able to just tie it into the deflector grid, and of course, Scotty is a miracle worker, but I mean, integrating that tech into your own ship, you wouldn't assume would be super easy. 15
minutes. And then a little bit more to turn it on. But I appreciate he says
15 minutes will save you a lot of money on car insurance, I guess, through Geico too, 15, you can do a lot in 15 minutes, is what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep. But I just appreciate he said, I plugged in, no idea if it was going to work. Like, he wasn't actually confident at all. It was a total guess.
Yes.
It's like, well, I plugged it in. Give me 15 minutes, what more can I do? It's powered. I don't know. I flipped the switch, nothing happened. I kind of think it's lame but clever that then Spock asks for a right of,
right of statement, yes.
And to delay them so they can install it. But the fact that she sits there with no orders going, like, no one's boarding the Enterprise, no one's trying to get it back. She's like, right, I will pause 20 minutes to allow you to give your speech, rather than doing anything about the situation.
Nobody tracked that ship. Nobody disable that ship in any way. Just sit there with the shields down and let's just chill out for a little bit. Let's be cool about this.
Yeah, everyone keep your shields down, okay? Don't raise them. We need beaming if we need them. Yeah. And I find it funny that he said he know about the right of reply, and she's like, a lot about Romulan culture. No one knows a lot about Romulan culture. She doesn't know, like... There's such inconsistency of how much they do and don't know about each other's cultures.
Yep.
Because why the hell would he know about, death law, last speech customs?
Maybe he looked it up when she was out of the room at one point because he knew he might need it for this purpose. I don't know. That's what I would do. Anyway, then they beam Spock off, and she's like,
Very Star Trek 3. Spock.
Yeah, I'll just hop a ride. And why would you assume that is safe with an alien's technology, with their transporter technology? How do you assume that you're going to be fine on the other end of that and not be melded into them? I mean,
imagine a cyborg twist. I mean, Tuvix twist.
Yeah. I mean, not so nice. Just like a puddle of blobby flesh. Like that bothers me about Star Trek 4, by the way, that she jumps on him.
Yep.
Like, that's dangerous.
It's quite a precedent, isn't it?
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So they then leave. They warp away at warp 9, and again you see a nice long shot of this awful bridge, and he's always sitting in the chair, just a desk chair. Like, I'm at the office, even though you're in the captain's chair of your ship. At a desk chair, and again the same officers behind them, the two in the background, literally the same guys that are still on the ship, still on the Enterprise. They're never given back, so we now got 3 Romulan hostages, one of which is naked, or boxers, or tidy whities, whichever.
Or a red shirt. They threw a red shirt on him.
Said, wear this, you'll see what happens after the break. And I found it interesting that they go to warp 9, which is pretty damn fast, and Spock says they are closing rapidly, which means these D7s are faster than warp 9. And distinctly faster. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I made a note of that myself. Catching up to the ship at warp 9. Then they engaged the cloak, which was quite an interesting effect. It wasn't really the shimmery effect. It kind of like black kind of faded in on it.
It was like gaseous, like disappearing as a gas.
Yeah, it was quite odd, actually.
Yeah.
And then we get a classic canonical. Those aren't deflectors on the front of those D7s. Those are torpedo launchers. Even though the TOS D7, they were deflectors.
And note, he said main batteries as soon as we're able, which means that if you link those two, I was kind of surprised. I've never seen that part of the episode in the remaster. I was kind of, oh cool, that was a good bit of CG. I actually appreciate that. I mean, the quality's not very good, but the fact they did it's nice. So the main batteries are torpedoes, and then they have disruptors as well. Which is interesting.
Why weren't they already armed and ready to go? Because they've been sitting there for how long?
Well,
facing
range.
them off.
I mean, it was about range, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, I suppose.
I mean, they were 100,000 kilometers away,
Yeah.
and closing fast. But yeah, but I did like the instant maneuver was, let's just get out of the way. It wasn't Prometheus style of combat. Straight line, guys, straight line. It's like, no,
the Prometheus school of running away from things.
Just turn to the left. Hey.
To the left, everything.
But honestly, Stuart, they build a device which they then give to Klingons, and they can't detect them, despite having cloaks for over 100 years at this point, because they had the original ones.
This was the new cloak, if you'll remember from our cloaking technology episode, and so they gave the Romulans or the Klingons the older style cloak, so the Klingons could start using cloak, but they kept the newer one for themselves and had the Klingons help them develop it, by the way. In secret. But yeah, so it's odd that they can't detect their own thing, but well,
because you would think there'd be some sort of radiation emission or something that they know is unique.
Yes.
I mean, you shouldn't build a technology that you yourselves cannot detect.
Yeah.
That's quite a flaw.
Yeah. And then of course, Mr. Spock, please take her to her quarters on deck 2. Below the bridge. Deck 2 below the bridge, guys. How long does this turbolift ride last? Minute and 36 seconds or something like that?
And
just long enough for the conversation. How ideal.
I bet Spock's thinking in the back of his mind, well, this lift is really... We should fix this lift, because this lift is really out... He's on the fritz, guys. It's moving literally an inch a minute. Yeah, that's a really awful... Because it could have been anywhere. I mean, there's decks everywhere, sort of. You could probably have one... there's crew quarters everywhere.
That was just poor writing. Deck 2? That's below the bridge. And for the turbolift to take that long, that was just awful. He's like, I forgot to put in the maintenance papers. That's what he's thinking the whole time. I forgot to submit the maintenance papers to the maintenance department. This thing's,
It's really delaying the ship's operation. It takes over 12 minutes to get to deck 6. It takes 45 minutes to get to deck 21.
To the shuttle bay.
Yeah, I mean, you have smoke breaks or drinking breaks in the turbo lift, just because it takes so long to get places. Yeah. Some people just get out and walk on the hull. It takes that much time.
Yeah, exactly.
And one little thing I noticed that I was really again, we've been on these sets, we have an idea. Mm-hmm. So you got the 2-shot of Kirk and Commander. Again, love the lighting of the panels above, and then there's a close-up of him. Where is he? That is not what you see behind Kirk. Where he's standing, that's not behind Kirk. That is somewhere else that did a close-up. Because that is it. You should see you should see the entire wraparound part of the bridge and consoles. Yeah. That is not where he is.
It's just that bad lighting and stuff. That it's probably second unit. We need a shot of you standing somewhere. Yeah. Stand there.
Yeah, literally. I mean, if you look at the full shot of both of them on the right, you can see the same grill pattern.
Yeah.
But it's like they didn't film him there. That's not where he should be. But oh well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the long ride, and again, this is another problem I found this episode. Whenever they do so many close-ups and they have nothing behind them, it's just a colour. I'm like, that is awful. Please give me some detail, because there is interesting angles you can do in that turbo lift.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't do 2 close-ups with nothing behind them. It's piss poor. Mm-hmm. It makes me think they didn't actually film in the turbo lift because the camera couldn't get that close-up. Is what the impression I got.
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah. And then the joke of the ears. And did you notice that the Vulcan ears are a lot bigger than the Romulan ears? Spock's ears are much bigger.
Yeah, and the Romulan ears also kind of curve out a little bit.
Yeah.
They're shaped different. So I did appreciate that actually, because they do incorporate that into TNG. The Romulan ears are slightly different than the Vulcan ears. A good episode overall. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I haven't watched these episodes in depth ever, basically, not with filmmaking in mind. Script is really, really solid. The Commander is a real standout, especially for the time. This episode doesn't feel like 60s until some of the bits it does. I wish I've said before, I wish I could go over and do the TOS CG again, because I could beat most people can improve the remastered stuff at this point. Would love to see more on that. Wish the sets a bit more effort. Try to make them look a bit more unique, or even just having more logos places and such. But yeah, cool, and a couple of big flaws, but apart from that, a lot of new stuff covered in this, and very solid all round. Yeah. Any final thoughts from you, Stuart?
It's one of my favorite episodes. That's all I can say. I love this. I love the ship shots, especially in the remastered version. The fact that they did the warp away at warp 9 and the way they just left the little ships in the background was beautiful, without actually breaking the effect like in the motion picture. Very cool. So yeah, great episode. Like you said, the writing was really good on this one. Very much like Balance of Terror is kind of like a submarine plot. You can see this kind of thing going on with warships. That kind of vibe, stealing a piece of new modern military technology.
Well, it was a DC Fontana script, so says only good things about her.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that awesome episode. A few flaws, especially the turbolift right at the end was one of the biggest Star Trek what the hell's in existence.
It's strange. There's very few that's a bit meh. There's really, really good points, and there's some really well, that's really silly.
So I think overall, out of 10, for me personally, I'd probably give this one a 8. So yeah, what do you think? What do you give it out of 10?
Yeah, I think if it didn't have some of those silly things, it'd be a 9, just because the writing is really excellent. But yeah, really solid 8, maybe pushing to 8.5. Again, are we looking at it in context with the series? Are we looking in context with Star Trek? Are we looking at context with things that are better than it? I don't know, because each of those have a different scale.
They would each have a different rating system, absolutely.
Yeah, it could be one of the best TOS episodes, but not a very good Star Trek episode, but not be very good, and obviously compared to Discovery, the shows we just had, they're obviously better made, even though, again, I think some of the angles are really solid in this. But yeah, solid 8, 8.5, almost a 9, if only they, had a few stronger or less weak bits. But
yeah. What did you guys think? What would you rank it? What would you comment on it? Did we miss anything? And let us know, did you like this show idea? Did you like the fact that we go back and visit these old ones? And even though they're made in the 60s, we still knock it for being made in the 60s. And what they did wrong, they did wrong. You could have done better. That's all. We're going to go through and nitpick it a little bit, point out all the good stuff, all the canon things that should be concluded later, all the canon things that didn't work later. We're going to point out all that stuff and give you just an overview of all Star Trek. If you want to see that, please let us know. Share this around with other Star Trek fans, and hopefully they will enjoy it as well.
Yeah, it's a brand new style. I mean, this does obviously take a while to make, because this is a long show. We've got to watch the episode in advance. We've got to do the pictures. We've got to make it. We've got to edit it. It's a long process to make these specials. But hey, we get the 10 to 15 to 20,000 views like our Discovery ones and Orville's are. We want to make more, because I think we have a lot of new perspectives to look at, and most people don't analyse them in this depth with this much scene by scene. And visually, most people just use, either audio podcast or without pictures. We're going to show you stuff, we're going to prove it, we're going to all that stuff. So if you like it, let us make more by watching and sharing. That's
right. So hopefully we will be doing more of these, because I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to doing them with other series as well, not just TOS. So anyway, guys, until next time, I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Commander Coggins.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.